Good morning, everyone. We're going to have a poem today from the author of A Certain Appeal, Vanessa King. I'm very excited to have her join us and read her poem. I hope everyone had a lovely weekend. I had a weekend and it was wonderful. They just are. And if you haven't read this book by Vanessa, A Certain Appeal, particularly if you are a fan, I agree, Stacey, it is a wonderful read, particularly if you're like me, a fan of Pride and Prejudice. I thought this was such a fun retell, and I learned a lot about burlesque, and I once again got wrapped up in Darcy and Bennett's love life, so it's a fun one. I highly suggest it. Hi.
Well, great. Hi.
I'm just recommending this wonderful book.
Well, thank you.
Yes, it must be so wonderful to have a book with your name on it that you
It's very
wrote.
exciting that I
Yeah,
can hold
yeah,
and like go to stores and occasionally see. It's very exciting.
yes. So
Yeah.
congratulations. As a
Thank
person
you.
who's grappling with, this is a lot of work, and am
Yeah.
I sure I want to do it?
Yeah.
I'm really
Well, thank
congratulations
you.
to you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Because it turns out like when you're done writing, you're never done writing is like the first
mhm.
part. And then then you do more. There's just like, then you have to do like another book
Right.
and
Because
write
then
other
people
things and
immediately
meet other
ask you
people.
what you're doing
Yeah.
next, right?
And I'm like, that's rude, but also, yeah, lots of things. Don't worry. I have plans.
It's nice to meet you.
Yes, you as well. So it's been
Yeah.
so exciting. We are waiting to have my turn to do the poem. So,
Yes, and I'm excited to have you share it. Is there anything else
yay.
you'd like to say before you read it?
Not particularly. So I positioned myself so that Butters might make an appearance if we know him from many posts and
Yes.
cake iterations. So
Butters is Vanessa's cat,
he is.
her new
He
kitten.
is. Technically my daughter's kitten, but
Yes.
I mean, it's really up to the cat as to
And your daughter
kind
just
of
had a
thing.
birthday and you
She did.
celebrated?
We did. Yeah, she turned 8. She went indoor skydiving,
Wow.
which really suits her personality. Her face hurt from smiling. Like she did not stop for the
Wow.
entire duration. So it was pretty great. So and she got her ears pierced. So
Oh, wow.
big stuff.
That is big
But yeah.
stuff. I
Yes.
got my ears pierced when I was 6, and
Okay.
the lady, I started running out when she pierced one of my ears, and she
Like, nope.
grabbed my other one, shot
Yeah,
it.
yeah, the tag. Like on.
So
Very
good
good.
for her.
Yes. Yeah, no, there was a lot of build up, but we got there. So yeah.
All right,
Alrighty.
well, go
So
for it.
alrighty. Where I'm from. I am from Chlorine, from Speedo and Tier. I am from the stuccoed ranch on Estero and the poorly placed box past the gate, too green grass, parchment skies, and the blast of an oven every time you open the front door. But hey, it's a dry heat. I'm from manicured palms and white trunk orange, humming with bees my brother was desperate to avoid. We were warned not to eat the fruit. It was bitter, collected for marmalade, but I don't know if that was true. At the bus stop, we chucked him into the street for Kyle to drive over. I'm from tension left undiffused and awkward hugs. From Van and Esther. I'm from the poky little puppies and reading well past that one last chapter before bed. From if Mur calls after 8, don't pick up. And do you know what an alcoholic is? I'm from male and female, God created them, male and female, we ordained them. And Bishop Shahan's insistence that same-sex marriages should receive the blessing of the church. We bless boats after all. Love is more sacred than a boat. And the outcry that followed, the anguish of that chaplain from Luke, and the gentleman in the black Stetson who rose, took a long draw on his O2 and declared, frankly, I've always been more concerned by those who concern themselves with the way other people make love. I'm from Litchfield Park, a desert rat and an Air Force brat, hardy peasant stock and kings. Buckeyes at Christmas, move the plate, she's had plenty, and Caesar salad year round. From the chance encounter that kept Granddaddy out of Korea, the I hadn't caught that bus, I'd have been another poor son of a bitch in a body bag. To the contributions to the war effort that kept Grandpa King assembling airplanes instead of on one to fight. What survived the fire, even if my cat didn't? A lone VHS tucked away in Paris, and the box of photos under the bed, assembled into albums and distributed to all four of us before we came unbound. There you go.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah.
That was, as a person who spent some time in Arizona, all of that felt familiar. And that the dry heat.
You get the blast every time.
And that is always the comment, right?
Oh yeah,
it's like
it's a dry heat,
right? Which is true.
T-shirts. Yeah, it is, but 114 is 114. So you're just crispy at that point.
Agreed. And I did not attend church, but I've known through my husband's family older people like the one you describe in church who stood up and I loved hearing that, because there are these old crusty folks who are like, don't act like I care about this.
Yeah,
I don't.
That was a very I had a different line in there originally because I was raised Episcopalian, and so as we all know, and also with you is the iterate something we say a lot. So peace be with you, and also with you. And but I had that very distinct memory. I was like, that one seems a little bit more to it. And then the male and female part was a Robin Williams bit. So really, he had been raised Episcopalian as well. So he had his list of top 10 reasons to be Episcopalian, and that was one of them. Like, we ordain them both. What you got?
That is the top 10 reason.
Yeah,
I agree. That's a top 10 reason.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. There was so much in Desert Rat. That's something that gets thrown around a lot. Yeah. Having family in Arizona, some think they're desert rats, some don't think they're desert rats. It's not for everyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it just made me think a lot of things, and I enjoyed it, and I got to know you so much better, and I love that. And what was it like for you writing it?
It was interesting. I mean, trying to pick and choose what references, to go with, and kind of wanted to get a balance of both sides of my family in it as well. So trying to decide, I was like, oh, can I get through this one without crying? Mostly.
But you did a great job.
I practiced a lot. So.
And what point of, how old was the person writing the poem?
It's me looking back.
So you now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I also feel like that's a choice we make, right? When we're writing it. Who is that? Mine's clearly me, sort of 14, 15.
Yeah. I know it's interesting with the different poems that have come across so far as to where kind of what the perspective is. But,
it really changes the things that you would choose.
Yes.
And just recently, my kids' class did these poems, and I read a bunch of them, and they're teenagers, and it's close to the age I think of myself as being. And so it was, they all made me cry.
You're like, that's where you are right now. Yeah. It's exactly you. There's no hindsight.
I'm quick to cry, but and you mentioned in your email to me that you were thinking about doing this as like a character investigation, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, it was something just writing through it. I have, been working on a follow-up to my book that's out, despite what it looks like and what my poor agent is like.
I have no doubt you're always working, Vanessa. If anyone doesn't think you're working, they're not paying attention.
There's always something. As I've mentioned before, there's always something.
Yeah.
Yes, and so, I've been working through these characters who are very different from characters I've written before, and so getting into the background is very, it's always important in fiction, but it's also, especially when you're working from a perspective that isn't, necessarily your own, is to really ground that. And so it felt like something that would be very effective for establishing that. So I'm going to have a go with that. One of my main characters coming up.
I think it's a brilliant idea because you have to get into those details, because we kind of generally have ideas about our character. Why else would we write about them?
Exactly.
We have these general ideas about them that draw us to them, but it doesn't mean we know all the specifics of,
Yeah.
their
Like, what's she
past.
doing? She's doing this. Why? I don't know. Can't
Because she
just
is.
move the plot forward. There's got to have some background to it. Like, okay, fine. Context
Yeah.
is everything. So
Hmm. And
gotta
sometimes it
build it in.
feels right, not just because of the
Yeah,
plot, but just because it does. But we don't necessarily have a motivation. It's just feels right.
exactly.
It's
Like,
what
no,
she
he's
would
doing.
do.
Yeah, exactly. But I had to justify that. Kind of working backwards. He's doing this,
Hmm.
and it makes sense. But why? I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
okay. Make it
I
harder for myself.
I think it matters. I think if only it matters for our own confidence in our writing. If it
Right?
matters for no other reason, that's a
Exactly.
good
I
enough
have the
reason.
receipts.
Yeah.
Come on. I wrote it out. Do you want to see? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just thought that was a really, and I thought, wow, that it could be challenging, just like it is to write our own story,
Yeah.
because you have to sift through the things so it feels right. You can't just
Exactly.
throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
there's the poem." So,
That's who she is. And you're like, oh, it's not.
yeah. So I want to hear them and see. You should put them up on
Yeah.
your. You should use
I
those as
That's a
like
good
press
point.
materials or
Yeah,
something.
exactly right. Here you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it would be, yeah, one character in particular that doesn't really reveal much outwardly. So
Hmm.
it's what would she be presenting and what is
Hmm.
actually going on inside would be an interesting. Oh, so I need to write these down. I'll have to look
Right.
at the video to, what did you say earlier? It's
Yeah.
on the cover. Yeah,
It's here until Instagram
exactly.
decides to just. I do think about,
Next
are they
topic
ever
this
just
year.
going to decide to erase all this? But at least I have
Yeah,
the hard copies of the poems.
there we go. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. But oh, I lost my thread. But I hmm, anything else while I'm thinking of what I was going to say?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, Butters is not making an appearance. He's sleeping on a pile of shoes, which
He's
is
he's not
kind of
camera
scary.
shy. We know that
I know
he's
he's not.
not.
Poor guy. He's
Yeah.
very well documented.
My dog is. I'll hold the camera up to her face and
Yeah.
she'll.
She's like, mm-mm. I'd rather not.
Thank God I didn't buy you trying to make you into an Instagram star. This would have been really, really disappointing.
Just like with
Um,
cat ownership, it's up to the pet as to whether they are, yeah,
oh,
participating
that's what I was going to
in
say
that aspect.
actually.
Yeah.
Um, that it would be so interesting for me personally to hear poems from people who are more introverted or who are less,
Yeah.
because of course people who are more likely to come share themselves here
Like,
are
let's sign
more,
up.
yeah. Um, and I said to, I think it was Meg, like I'd love to get some younger people too who
Yeah.
are just starting to sort of reflect in this way, because it does change as we evolve.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool you're doing that for a character. I would love to hear from people
Yeah.
who this is. I mean, it's uncomfortable, I think, to do this.
It, the thought of it, or even, depending, again, like deciding what you are going to share and what, like, oh, what's going to get discussed, what would I say we're picking it apart. So,
mm-hmm.
we're gonna explicate. Oh God. So,
Yeah, it's
word
like
choice.
English class, but friendlier,
Exactly.
hopefully,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it can bring back those memories of like, oh, here I am reading in front. I'm volunteering to read
Mm-hmm.
mine for the class.
Yes.
And it was funny too, reading these kids' poems, they're like, oh, they aren't
I
that.
just did that. Right? Fine.
Yeah. But then I showed one to their parents, and the parents, of course, were like, oh, wow, it's amazing. And
It's
I
like
want to take that with
awesome.
me about my own writing, because I have
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's all right.
Yeah.
But then we need to remember it's not just for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. When you put it out there, it's out there. So
It is out
it's like
there.
that. I know. There's that. There's that guy. That one's out there. Yeah.
It's amazing. Is there anything else, Vanessa, before we say happy week and happy Monday to everyone?
Yeah. I mean, everyone have a great week, I guess. Hope everyone gets productive and rested. And if you can get some sort of balance in that would
It's
be
the
good.
goal,
I know I
right?
aim for that.
It's not always easy, but it definitely, in the long run, it's kind of the only way to go.
Yeah,
You got to have some
exactly.
balance. You can't always be on go.
Yes, I know. I appreciate it. Someone else in the pod had posted about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and
Mm-hmm.
you have the basic thing. You cannot do anything creative or improve upon yourself and things like that unless you have the basics covered.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, I think it
take
was
care of
Rebecca
yourself.
Mackay just recently on Twitter who did a whole thread about lots of things are writing. Reading is
Yeah,
writing. rest is writing. You know, all these things do contribute to our writing. And then she says at the end, don't get me wrong, you do need to write at some point.
Yeah.
But all of it does feed into the finished product.
Yeah.
And we need to remember that and to give ourselves space to
Yeah.
do those, have lives.
Yeah. Like no one's at their best when they're sleep deprived. So
No,
said,
I'm definitely not. I'm not a happy person.
Yeah. Even in like younger, more, ambitious nocturnally days, I would always say like nothing good happens after 2. So if you're out writing or doing anything past a certain hour, like no good's coming of that. Like you're not going to be doing quality. So it's okay. Let yourself go.
Yeah. Go to bed.
Yeah. Like no.
If you can.
Tap out. So. Exactly.
Well, thank you for everyone for joining us. Thanks, of course, to Vanessa for her wonderful poem and her book,
Yay.
A Certain Appeal. Yeah. Read it. It's a wonderfully fun Pride and Prejudice retell set in the burlesque world.
That it is.
Big thing.
Thank
thumbs
you so
up.
Much.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Good morning, everyone.